the sales process, before you get into anything having to do with your product, your service, anything else, the first thing we must do is qualify the person that we're in front of. The last thing you ever want to do is go through your entire sales pitch, let's say selling a light bulb, and then saying, I got a light bulb with 100 years lifespan that's extra bright and can do everything you might ever like. It slices and dices, it babysits your children, but the person in front of you happens to be blind. So they really don't need your light bulb. They're not qualified for your sales process. You could be talking your head off for a week and a half, and all they'd be thinking in their head is, dude, I'm blind. Dude, I'm blind. Dude, I'm blind. It's an objection in their head that you must overcome first before you can get into anything else. We can talk about objections in a minute or in the future. But going back to this light bulb, though, if you pre-qualified that person, and you said, okay, I got a light bulb. And the guy says, dude, I'm blind. It's like, okay, are you ever in the same room with people that aren't blind? Well, yes. Would they ever need light to walk through the room at night? Well, yes. Okay, well, now they're qualified again. And then from there, once you're qualified, you know that you either have a person that can leverage your product or has the ability to afford the product. It's hard to sell an exotic car to someone who's homeless with a bank account of zero and zero credit rating. So you make sure the person is qualified for the pitch. Then from there, throughout the entire sales process, while building the relationship, you're building to the inevitable conclusion of the close. You first talk by doing a few things. One, ask a whole bunch of qualifying questions. These qualifying questions can be framed in forms of what's known as the if we would you close, right? And we're going to talk more about that in the future. But if we could find a way to make your living more comfortable by giving light in the middle of the night for your grandkids and not bump into furniture, would you like this kind of product? They'd be like, yeah, I'd like that. Good. I don't have to sell anything from there. I know I'm closed. I'm done. I just got to ask more questions like, what would that look like? What would the light bulb have to be like? What kind of furniture would you like to avoid? I'm qualifying all the details that this person has, and therefore I know exactly how to pitch. It's like customizing a resume to a job. You're customizing your pitch to the person, and that person is based and defined by the qualifying questions that you ask. And while doing so, you can do a second thing. It's called establishing the need. You'll see this in television commercials all the time. Have a hard time getting out of bed? And he's still rolling like a fish. And it's like, well, use the new Get Out of Bed 5000. They first establish a need, or they create the need, the sense of a need. Then they solve that problem, reaction, solution. So you establish a problem, and then from there, you go by qualifying questions, you get understanding what that need is. And then you can solve those problems legitimately. And as a salesperson, all you do is you keep poking at those problems over and over and over again until they want to get rid of it. Then you give the solution like, oh my gosh, you scratched that itch for me. I didn't know I even had that itch, but thank you. Because you pre-qualified that person well. While you're going through those two steps, you can also do another thing, and that's determine their buying strategy. So what I mean by that is there's going to be a certain key number of things that an individual is going to want to look for. For example, if I'm buying a car, I might want to be looking at its safety and its color. That's the number one thing. I don't want my kids to get killed. I want it to be blue. But another person will care about the 0 to 60 in 2 seconds and its ability to impress some hotness that I want to impress. So if I understand what the buying strategy is of that individual, I can then pitch to their buying strategy. So I'm not going to pitch the person that cares about safety and their kids, how fast it can go 0 to 60, because that might be scary for them. And I'm actually talked myself out of that process as they jump off the top of the funnel while I'm trying to get them to the bottom. Neither am I going to talk to that kid that's wanting that hot rod that can jump over cliffs and do stunt driving to say, and this is the safest thing that's great for grandchildren. So as you understand their buying strategy, you can then make your pitch fit their buying strategy. And of course, you determine that through your qualifying questions. And of course, when all else fails or there's tension, you just go back to front talk and you build a relationship, because that's rule number one as a salesperson. An addendum to pre-qualifying everything that you do. Very, very important is you want to make sure that prior to entering any sales process, any marketing pitch, any negotiation, anything, that all decision makers that need to be there are there. Or else what you end up happening is a scenario where You do the whole presentation. You say, I'm sorry, I love what you're doing, but I cannot make a decision without my business partners or my accountant or my wife or my husband or my grandmother or my power of attorney. You make sure that all those individuals are there, or else you've just now spent a lot of time going through your pitch. Now you got to go through it all over again a second time. So part of the pre-qualification process is simply to make sure that all the decision makers are there. And therefore, by the time you're done and that sales funnel is complete, it's just going to be nice, easy, and clean. There's no kicking the can down the road. So your front talk has now done its job. You now know what their buying strategy is. You have asked all the qualified questions. You're now ready for a qualifying pitch. And that is the first preliminary pitch. You see, what happens then is you can then say, if I had a light bulb that allowed you to have your kids to walk around the house late at night without getting bumped into things, would you then look at a product like this? They might be like, yes, but no. I'm like, well, why? What's the but no? That's a good objection. We're going to talk about objections soon enough in a deep way. And then from there, it's like, no, because I rent my apartment and I actually don't change the light bulbs myself. It's brought to you by my landlord. Oh, I didn't know that. So you might not be qualified for this because you never actually ever buy light bulbs. You've never bought a light bulb in your life. And even if you did, your landlord might reprimand you. So I'm going to go back to front talk because they have this high efficiency something or something you might like. So I'm going to go back to front talk and get to know them, get them to talk about their dog and their kids and things that are important while I start thinking about, is there any room left in my pitch to then move this in the direction of light bulbs? Maybe I can talk to his landlord. Maybe there's other ways we can go, referrals, things along that line. Or I might find there is a qualifying thing that you can get. If I can give rent relief for you, you can then use this light bulb and then we're still back in our sales process. But this is what makes a nice, easy, smooth sales run because you've pre-qualified your individual, your candidate, your customer, your client, or what have you, whatever your market vertical says. You've pre-qualified this individual. You know your product is worthwhile and is of benefit. And then the actual sales process is actually like a post-close, which we're going to talk about as well, where now you're really affirming to them that they made the right decision. And in essence, you get them to make the decision to buy your product or service before they've even seen it. And then from there, you go through all the blow by blows to encourage them to show that they've made the right decisions. That is effective sales.